anything, but I've learned that I do not have the answers without him. He said, you might want to check your dependency level. That python will slither in, whisper in your ear, separate you from God, and convince you that you have the charisma, the management skills, the people skills, and so forth to make it happen on your own. Without God, there is no life in it.
That's right.
All right. Raven, will you read obedience?
Which page is it on?
It's on page 6 to the right. Just read the first 4 paragraphs.
Okay. After Jesus spoke of intimacy and dependency, he talked of obedience. I do not seek my own will, but the will of the Father who sent me. John chapter 5, verse 30. Jesus never once consulted his own will. He never tried to please himself. He lived to do the will of the Father. Most of us do not understand that kind of obedience. What made the difference? Jesus believed that the Father was engineering all the circumstances of his life. That is a revelation that will change the way you live, and that revelation comes through intimacy. The greater your intimacy with the Lord, the greater your trust. The greater your trust in the Lord, the greater your dependency. The greater your dependency on him, the greater your obedience. He is in control of it all. If you understood that, you wouldn't grumble and complain so much. You would put an end to fussing and blaming God when things don't go as you think they should. Jesus was sharing with his disciples, giving them the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and telling them of his imminent death and resurrection. Peter, having just proclaimed that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God, of course protested. After rebuking Peter, who momentarily lost focus on God's bigger picture, Jesus said, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. Jesus could not live his own life on his own, and he wanted his followers to understand that we cannot either. Jesus could not carry his own cross. After all he had endured, he came to a breaking point. That is what the cross does in each person's life.
Well, God will allow us to come to a breaking point on our own, but he will be there to help. I mean, has anybody ever got to that breaking point in their life where they had to, that's all they had to do was depend on God?
Yes. Yes.
He also said, I'm going to wrap it up in this chapter, he said, God is working obedience in your life. He is not just leaving it up to you to get around to it. He is going to keep working on you until your will comes in line with his will. And in the last paragraph on the next page, it says, it's your spiritual breath, and it's what the python wants so desperately to choke. So in the next chapters, we're going to go on and we're going to talk about how the python wants to silence your voice of prayer and stop your praise and put limitations on the other areas of your life. So anybody have any comments?
I just think that throughout the week, throughout our time away from the ministry, we have to we can't put obedience, intimacy, and dependency out of our minds.
Right.
That has to be something that we're consciously making a decision about daily until it's automatic. I just think sometimes well, speaking for self, that sometimes it's just something that we put out of our mind. Or we're just not thinking about it, and in that it becomes an issue in
Right.
your life because you're not thinking about it. But you have to be able to be conscious about obedience, intimacy, and dependency on God on a
Right.
day-to-day basis.
Because if you don't have the intimacy and dependency and obedience, you're going to continue to be in struggles that you don't even have to be in life.
Mhm.
You know, so we have to learn how to be intimate and have those one-on-ones with God, and be just dependent on him and just be obedient. It's it's hard for some of us to be obedient.
Right.
God has to put out his whip, his belt sometimes and give us those whippings we need to get obedient, to get into his will. So this ends today's lesson.